Welcome back to part 2 of our Literature Digest series on important allergy immunology scientific publications from Allergy News. In part 1, we looked at how indoor allergens like pet dander, pests, and mold can seriously impact asthma, especially in city environments. If you haven't seen it yet, the link is in the description below. Today, we're continuing the conversation by discussing a publication by Dr. Sharon Ahluwalia and Dr. Elizabeth C. Matsui, as we explore how broader social and environmental factors shape allergen exposure and asthma outcomes. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to our deep dive on indoor allergens and asthma.
Before we went to part 2, we were talking about those different interventions, how well different ways to reduce allergens work.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that it's not all about personal choices, right?
Right.
It's not just about individual actions. There are these bigger forces at play
Right.
that can really impact how much we're exposed to these allergens and how bad our asthma can get.
So, what kinds of things are we talking about here?
Well, think about things like poverty, the condition of our homes,
Yeah.
even systemic racism. All of these can create environments where allergens just thrive.
Right.
And asthma becomes a much bigger problem.
So it's like those dust mites and cockroaches are almost like symptoms of a bigger problem.
That's a great way to put it. They're like little indicators. Think about substandard housing.
Okay, yeah.
You often see moisture problems, poor ventilation,
Uh-huh.
pest infestations. It creates this perfect storm for allergens.
Right.
And then you layer on things like limited access to healthcare,
Right.
the financial burden of managing asthma, the stress of living in poverty. It's this vicious cycle that's really tough to break.
So it's not enough to just, give people tips on cleaning.
Yeah.
We have to look at those root causes.
Exactly. If we really want to reduce asthma rates, we've got to support policies that improve housing, reduce poverty,
Okay.
really fight for environmental justice.
So we need to be having a much bigger conversation about public health and equity.
Absolutely. Asthma is often seen as just a medical problem,
Right.
but it's deeply connected to social and environmental issues.
Right.
Things we need to address at a systemic level.
And this reminds me of that study we talked about earlier, the one that found way higher levels of mouse allergen in low-income urban neighborhoods.
Yes, that's a perfect example. It shows how these socioeconomic factors directly impact our exposure.
It's not about how clean your house is.
Exactly. It's about a lack of resources, investment in these communities.
Right.
And these disparities, they don't stop at housing. Think about the research we talked about, the link between high allergen levels in inner city schools
Right.
and more severe asthma in students.
Yeah. That study was pretty alarming.
It was. It highlights how these inequalities can affect a child's life in so many ways, from their home to their school.
Right. And I imagine that impacts their ability to learn, their overall well-being.
Absolutely. So addressing those allergens in schools, especially in these under-resourced areas, becomes a matter of health and educational equity.
For sure. So what are some effective strategies that we can use to address these societal factors that contribute to allergen exposure and asthma? What's showing promise?
There's no quick fix, but there are some approaches that have worked. Housing policy is huge.
Okay.
Programs to get rid of lead paint, interventions that address mold, pests, and ventilation in homes. These have been shown to actually reduce allergens and improve asthma outcomes.
So investing in better housing can actually improve people's health.
Absolutely. And it's not just about fixing existing problems. We also need to push for building codes and regulations that prioritize healthy indoor environments from the get-go.
Right. So prevention is key.
Exactly. And beyond housing, urban planning and development are really important.
Okay.
Creating more green spaces, reducing air pollution, these can have a huge impact on respiratory health, including asthma.
So the way our cities are designed actually affects asthma rates.
It's all connected. It comes back to creating environments that promote well-being. And another crucial piece is community engagement and empowerment.
What does that look like in practice?
When people are actively involved in finding and solving those environmental health issues in their own communities, the solutions are more sustainable, they're more impactful.
So it's about giving communities the power to be part of the solution, not just, receiving help.
Exactly. It's about collaboration, trust, working together to create healthier spaces for everyone.
I really appreciate you bringing this bigger picture perspective to the conversation. It's been really eye-opening.
Of course, it's a complex issue, but by acknowledging and addressing these interconnected factors, we can really work towards creating more just and healthier communities for everyone.
This has been really insightful. But we're not done yet. When we come back for the final part of our deep dive, we'll be exploring some of those innovative approaches to allergen reduction and asthma management.
We'll be looking at some exciting new developments, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to the show. We've been deep diving into the world of indoor allergens and asthma, and now it's time to explore some of those cutting-edge solutions for allergen reduction and asthma management.
It's an exciting area with a lot of promising developments.
You know, one thing I've been hearing about is immunotherapy. Is that like what it sounds like? Like something straight out of a sci-fi movie?
Well, the name might sound futuristic, but immunotherapy or allergy shots has actually been around for a while.
Okay.
It's a pretty straightforward concept, really. You get exposed to tiny doses of the allergen over time.
So like cat dander, dust mites, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And the goal is to basically retrain your immune system so it doesn't freak out when it encounters those allergens.
You're like desensitizing it.
Yeah, precisely. The idea is that those allergic reactions become less severe or maybe even go away completely. It's not a quick fix, but for a lot of people, it can provide long-term relief from allergies and even help control asthma.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It sounds like a real game changer for people struggling with severe allergies.
Yeah.
What else is out there on the horizon?
Well, there's a whole field of research focused on what are called biologics.
Biologics, okay.
These are medications that target very specific parts of the immune system that are involved in allergic responses.
So it's a much more targeted way of controlling how your body reacts.
Exactly. And some of these are already being used for severe asthma and allergies, with even more in development and showing really positive results. It's pretty exciting.
So we're making real progress in both preventing and treating allergen-induced asthma. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But are there like other solutions beyond medications?
Absolutely. There are also some really innovative things happening in the realm of building design and materials.
Oh, really? I'm curious about that.
Researchers are working on new kinds of flooring, wall coverings, even fabrics that are naturally less likely to harbor allergens.
So they're like designing spaces that are just less friendly to dust mites and mold and all those triggers.
Mm-hmm. That's the idea. And there's this trend called biophilic design.
Biophilic design.
Yeah, it basically means bringing elements of nature indoors.
Oh, like plants and natural light and stuff like that.
Exactly. Studies have shown that more exposure to nature can benefit our health in lots of ways, like reducing stress and boosting our immune systems.
It's like bringing the outdoors in and creating a healthier, more balanced space. I like that.
Right. It's all about creating environments that support well-being.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. We've covered so much ground, from the nitty-gritty of those allergens to cutting-edge solutions and the bigger picture of how social factors are involved. It's really fascinating.
I agree. It's been a pleasure exploring these important topics with you.
Absolutely. And, you know, before we wrap things up completely, I want to leave everyone with one final thought. We've talked about interventions and strategies and new technologies, but the most powerful tool we have is knowledge.
I completely agree.
When we understand where those allergens come from, how they affect our health, and the steps we can take to reduce our exposure, we can all take charge and create healthier living environments for ourselves and our families.
It's about being informed and advocating for our health.
So, as we conclude our deep dive, I really encourage everyone to check out the resources that are available in your community. Your local health department's website is a great place to start. There are asthma advocacy organizations out there, and don't be afraid to start conversations about healthier indoor environments.
Knowledge is power, and when it comes to allergens and asthma, that knowledge can make a real difference.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into indoor allergens and asthma. Until next time, stay curious and stay healthy.
That wraps up our two-part deep dive on indoor allergens and asthma. We've seen how pets, pests, mold, and even where we live can affect asthma and what we can do about it. This summary was AI-generated based on real research published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal. For a full and detailed understanding, we encourage you to check out the original study. Like and subscribe to Allergy News by WikiAllergies for more science-backed tips to breathe better and live healthier. See you in the next video.